Welcome to Geneseo Today. News and insight on issues in and around Geneseo.
Welcome to Geneseo Today, the interview show where we highlight key Geneseo figures. Today, I am joined by Mary Toll, SUNY Geneseo's Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting.
Can we please start just by having you explain what your position entails?
Sure. So most people don't always know what it means to be a provost and vice president for academic affairs. I certainly didn't when I was in college. So just to kind of give a general sense of it, everything in academic affairs reports up to the provost. What do I mean by that? So at Geneseo, obviously all the academic departments report up to the provost through the dean, as well as the library, tutoring, information technology, and a bunch of other stuff. So my job is actually to help set the direction in the academic affairs space to be able to accomplish the goals we have, which is what the college exists for. And so being able to really shape that and lead in a way that allows our students, faculty, and staff to succeed is what the provost's job is. It doesn't give you a whole lot of meat to really dig into, but I think as we talk, we may get a little more clarity on some of that.
Nice. So you said that when you were in college, you didn't know what the provost did, but how would you say that your own collegiate experience shaped your approach to leadership as a provost?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a great question. So I've thought about that a good bit because my undergraduate institution was also a liberal arts college. And so what that did for me was give me an opportunity to lead in a lot of different spaces as a student. And when I say that, I mean like what you have here at Geneseo, the opportunity to engage in the campus community as well as the community writ large, the village, the town, being able to do community service, being able to lead in any club or organization that you're interested in, but also being able to learn from a variety of fields at the college to be able to kind of put it all together. I saw it as puzzle pieces that would come together to make the whole picture. So it's a holistic learning that allowed me to shape my direction in my career, which obviously ended up leading me here. And being able to understand all of those aspects in a liberal arts college, the opportunities to lead in ways that make sense for you. Sometimes by choice and sometimes by happenstance, that you end up being an interviewer instead of maybe in something else, and being able to move forward in directions to be able to adapt and pull in the knowledge from all the different spaces and all the different classes you've had. So for me, that's what my college experience did, and that's why I love Geneseo, because that's what I see here.
So do you think that your personal experiences and collegiate experience gives you a deeper connection with the students here at Geneseo?
I do. So I've thought about that a lot, even when I was on the interview process for coming here. This is a place I did not know about when I was looking for a college. I'm from Ohio originally, so it would have been a stretch for me to have heard about Geneseo. Nonetheless, I would have come here. This is the place where I am like, these are my people. These are the people that I understand. These are the students that I was when I was a student for a lot of different reasons. One, I wanted the liberal arts college experience, obviously, but we also have a lot of first-generation college students. I myself, as a first-generation college student, trying to navigate higher ed when you're in that space and nobody else in your family's done it can be a challenge. And so having people on the campus who knew that it was a challenge and helping reduce some of those obstacles, I had that at my undergraduate institution, and I see that here. And so me understanding kind of how I navigated the space, how we are trying to help students navigate the space, allows our ability to engage, allows me, right, to engage with the students in ways that help me show I know what you're going through. You know, having conversations with students is important to me to figure out, okay, what's going on with them? How's it going? Yep, okay, I've experienced that. Got it. Okay, what can I do to help fix that? Or how can I help them navigate whatever that might be? And so really thinking about the place as a place where people can thrive and survive, even as we hit road bumps. That is what I experienced as an undergraduate, so I see that here as well.
So after college, I understand you have a background in communication, specifically strategic communication. How has that enhanced your skill set as a provost?
Yeah, sure. So walk you through a little bit of my kind of trajectory in education. My undergraduate education actually is secondary mathematics education. So I thought I was going to be a math teacher at one point. Of course, every time I took a new course in college, because it was a liberal arts college, I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun. Maybe I'll major in that. I took one communication class that was required of us in the general education liberal arts core, and then I took a persuasion class my junior year because it fit my schedule and I needed a class to fill it out. And I was like, oh, that was fun. That was interesting, fascinating. Took some time for a few years, worked in a variety of capacities, and then decided to go back for graduate school, found communication. And so my master's and doctoral are in communication theory and research, specifically in my doctoral instructional communication, which paired well with my undergraduate because it really highlighted my background in education to be able to pull in inside and outside the classroom communication. So you're probably going, oh, well, so what about strategic communication? Because I haven't mentioned that yet, because I don't have a degree in strategic communication, but I was hired actually at SUNY Oswego to start a master's program in strategic communication. And so why would they hire me that doesn't have that degree? Well, because I know how to put curriculum together. I know what makes a degree work together. And I also understand the field of communication, which is extremely diverse. So we have the discipline of communication writ large, but within it we have all these different pockets. Strategic communication is one that typically will align with public relations. So I'm really good at theory and research and being able to do it. I'm not a practitioner like a public relations person would be, who definitely I would say are the experts. But that all being said, how it has helped me overall in my career is to help me understand different tactics and strategies that could be utilized based on the audience, based on the context. Because as you know, as a communication major, it always depends on what's happening around us for what kind of message, how we can deliver it, who's the audience, what am I trying to get across, what's the noise that might get in the way of getting that message across. So it's helped me understand how and when, as I'm observing, and I've only been here just over a year, so I'm still observing the culture, because you can't learn a culture overnight. Geneseo, what is the communication culture, and what impact do I need to have to help move the dial in a certain way for the communication culture at Geneseo, within academic affairs in particular? So I'm still navigating that space and have implemented some new different things that I am evolving into over the course of my time here. So to kind of go back to your original question, how has strategic communication helped me? It's helped me understand the dynamics around what's happening with the audience, as well as the context and timing of certain messages that need to be delivered. So it's really helped me navigate, and I'm going to say this as a selling point. Communication will help anybody in any job if they study it and apply it. So that's my pitch for major in communication.
So I think that sets us up nicely for our next question, because you mentioned how your background with education and communication plays a large role in how you navigate your position as a provost. How would you say that SUNY Geneseo's vision, its academic vision, guides its initiatives and direction? Great,
yeah. So for me, for SUNY Geneseo, and actually really any higher education institution, the whole reason we're here is for academics, right? Yes, we have co-curriculars, extracurriculars that build into it as a holistic person. So the writ large mission and vision of SUNY Geneseo is our academic mission. And so when I think about how we're looking to make sure we're teaching and inspiring people to have a positive impact on society, how do we do that in the academics? And as a distinctive liberal arts public honors college, we're doing it in such a way that we are delivering on the promise of an honors college, to be able to say, here, we've got these fantastic programs, and what our students do in those programs, thanks to the great work of our faculty and staff, deliver on those outcomes. So you can graduate early, or you can graduate on time, or we get to keep you for, the retention. We retain you in positive ways. So really, to me, the vision for SUNY Geneseo is that we're staying true to our liberal arts core as we're elevating the stories of all of our faculty, staff, and students to meet the mission and vision overall for having a great impact on society. So that's our guiding light, which guides everything we do in academic affairs. All the initiatives, all the things we're doing are swimming toward that mission and vision that lines, if it kind of comes down, you look at all the different things in the strategic plan, all of those actually are geared toward meeting the mission and vision of the college.
And the strategic plan is from 2022 to 2027, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting because what typically happens at a college, you have a strategic plan that has these finite timelines. In reality, they're fluid. The timelines are fluid. So you've got this strategic plan, and these are all things that we're working on. And then we'll look at it and we'll say, okay, what do we need to revise? What do we need to edit? How do we make this better? What's next based on what's happening in the world? And so that's true, but it never really ends. So I think strategic plans are fascinating in that way, is that, yeah, they have this timeline, but we're still doing stuff.
Yeah. So you mentioned how SUNY Geneseo's academic vision is basically to deliver on the promise of being New York's public honors college. Do you think the college rebranding to New York's public honors college has changed the academic vision?
Yeah, that's a good question. We get that a lot, actually, and I would say it has not. So we call it a rebranding because we've gotten the official notification that we can call ourselves the Honors College. My understanding, and I've been in SUNY a long time, right? This is now 11 years in SUNY, is that Geneseo's always been the Honors College of the system. And so what the rebranding does is really confirm the work that's been happening on this campus for decades, generations, in fact, of faculty, staff, and students who've had the Geneseo experience. To be able to live the way in which the liberal arts deliver at Geneseo is a hallmark for the system. So it is a technical rebranding, but I think it's more of a confirmation, actually, of the work, because we outpace our competitors when it comes to our graduation rates, our retention rates, our success. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. So I'm thrilled that we finally get to actually use it officially, that it's the official recognition that we are the New York State Public Honors College.
If you are just tuning in now, this is Geneseo Today. I'm your host, Carolyn, and I'm joined by Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Mary Toll. Let's shift from speaking about the role of the Provost, just focusing on Geneseo as a college, and focus on what you have done in your time at Geneseo. You've only been here a year, but I'm sure you've gotten a lot done. So what are some of the key academic priorities you focused on since being here?
I'm glad you said this, right? So I've been here just over a year. I started at the end of March last year. So this time of year, it was only my second week, and I was just meeting tons of people and just trying to it's kind of like an immersive experience, really. At the end of April's a rough month, right, for all of us. So it was just learning a lot. So I took that time to get to know people, digest some of the information over the summer, and in August, I actually set what are called the 6 academic affairs priority goals for the year, all based on the strategic plan that line up with our mission and vision as a college, to say, okay, here's the direction we're swimming in this year. Let's set some priorities so we can know where we're going. So I'm going to give you those 6 goals and give you some examples. I'll start with the first one, which seems obvious, but it's supporting student success. How do we support student success? And so there's a lot of different ways in which we already do that. One of the things we started this year is called Circle In. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at this app. It's essentially a gamification of studying and tutoring each other and things like that from a peer perspective. Our goal being that students have access to each other when maybe they don't feel like they do in class. So there are a number of us, myself included, who are introverts. And so when we think about when we're sitting in class and we're put into a group, and sometimes we're like, oh, I got to be in this group. Oh my gosh, I got to talk to somebody. And you really want to, but you don't sometimes, and there's this dissonance. So what the app does is it takes it away, that stress of, if I want to reach out, I can, and get some information. And a professor has access to that as well. And to be able to do it in a way that allows students to ask questions about the content or whatever that might be. So we actually launched that in August. That was one of the things that we started last August. That's been building and building over the course of the year with more and more students engaged with it. And so Circle In is one of the things we've done to help support student success. There's a number of other things. I can't go beyond this without saying Milne Library. So Milne Library reports up through me. That opening has been significant. I've heard it from students. I'm sure you've experienced being able to go in there and have a space to study in, a quiet space or not quiet, depending on where you are. Being able to be in the library and see the beautiful view. I mean, it is part of our mental health to be able to be in that kind of space. Has been incredible to observe. That was my first time in the library, ever. For a lot of people, that's true because it closed down in January 2020. So 5 years later, there aren't many students here, if any, who were here when it was the pre-New Milne. So to me, that's a huge support piece because a library is the heart of a campus. It really helps students ground. The second goal I set was to help people to increase their understanding of the budget in academic affairs, meaning that people who are the faculty and staff and leaders in academic affairs, knowing what does the budget look like in academic affairs. It's a work in progress. We've been doing some tutorials with folks, and I have actually an associate provost for admin and finance who's working on some spreadsheets for our deans, and we have a new dean that's going to come in, so being able to really help understand what this budgeting process looks like, because in New York State, it's a bit complicated and complex. The third goal I have is for expanding program growth. And so how do we deliver the program students want in a way that allows us also to move the dial on our enrollment? Because we know we've seen that decline. We know there's a demographic cliff. So what are the ways we should be moving? So I engaged with a company called Hanover Research. What they came in and did is take a look at what we already offer, take a look at what's out there in the job market, and what degree programs are in existence that we may be able to, or not in existence, quite frankly, we may be able to capitalize on our strengths and get into that, if you will, market space. So where do we deliver on our promise to be able to then create programs that our students want and future students want? And so that was a big one to figure out, okay, what does this look like? So what's happened since then? This report was delivered in August. Faculty have been taking a look at it because curriculum is developed by faculty. Understanding where are our opportunities in graduate programs, online programs, in particular graduate online, undergraduate programs, certificate programs, to be able to, again, deliver on the needs that our students are actually identifying as well as the marketplace is identifying. So looking at how we expand the academic program portfolio, we've done this year is actually started our first ever dual enrollment program. That means that high school students are taking credit for Geneseo for the first time as they're still in high school. We've never done that before. So this spring we're doing it as a pilot program, working out all the logistics of it, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that. We plan to expand it actually this fall. So we have students actually in 2 New York City schools who will be here April 24th to visit the campus, 9th graders. They're not in the classes, they're the next class that will come in, to be able to really build out more dual enrollment so students in high school can earn college credit from us. So that's exciting. There's a lot more programs that I have that we've been working on. This summer we're doing a lot of what we're calling pilot programs. So the Summer Academy, as well as some Soaring Stars for middle school and high school students to come to our campus to experience for a couple weeks, right? College life in a way, and get actual experience with our faculty and staff. All right, again, I spent a bit more time on that one, but I'll move on to I have just 3 more goals, and these will really go quicker, even though I said that was going to be true. Staying true to the liberal arts core. I've talked about this a lot. It's important to us as an institution. Our core of who we are is as a public liberal arts institution. So we will always stay true to that. And really one of the things I was drawn to when I applied for the job here was looking at GLOBE, the general education requirements. We're ahead of the curve on what we're hoping our students will get out of that. And it takes a little bit of time to kind of work through all the processes as we get everybody in it. But really being able to see the integrative and applied experiences, the innovativeness around what's happening in that space is pretty phenomenal. So that's pretty exciting. Then when I move on to my 5th goal, really being how do we support an equity-centered honors college? Because we're also that. How do we support this? So some of the things we've looked at this year is examining what are some of the personnel processes and how do we remove barriers. That goes for students too. What do we do to remove barriers for registration, for instance? So do we have to have a hold, or do we not have to have a hold? Probably not. And maybe so in some cases, depending on what the hold is for, to get people to be able to register during their time period and be able to remove that so that they have an ability to get into their classes. As well as accessibility. Really, accessibility, yes, there's a federal mandate, Title II, about accessibility. Myself, when I got here, actually on my interview, I was on a cane because I had just had knee surgery. And so the ability to be able to navigate spaces in a physical space, but as well as in the online learning environment or in a class, being able to access the material is important for all of us. So universal design. And then 6th and finally, and this is one of, I think, maybe most appealing for students, is that we started, it's called the League of Storytellers out of the Provost office. 6 students are interns in the Provost office. They have launched this program this spring to be able to elevate our stories of our faculty, staff, and students in ways in academic affairs that perhaps we haven't in the past, because Geneseo has been kind of a best kept secret. We don't need to be a best kept secret. We need to make sure people know how great we are, because we are pretty great. And so having students involved with creation of the stories, they're out there doing the interviews, they're doing video, audio, all the different things, and they can also do it written. It's their choice. Leading that from our perspective to be able to get into those departments and find out what stories you want us to tell. So that's something that for the first ever, when you launch something new, I've been really excited about, that our students been able to really pull this off, to be able to do this, to set us up, because this is not going away. This is something I want to carry forward throughout, even after I leave, maybe in 10 years, right? I actually don't plan to leave in 10 years, but to be here for as long as it can possibly be here, to set up some continuity there. So that's the big one. The other one is for storytelling is really assessment, and using assessment to be able to tell the stories of what we're doing as well. And so how do we improve our assessment abilities? And we're actually working on an implementation of a new program in academic affairs that will allow all of us on the faculty, staff, and student, not so much the students really, but on the faculty and staff side, of being able to assess what we say we're doing. So in a course, there are learning outcomes. We need to make sure we're actually meeting those learning outcomes. So how do we assess those? Faculty do that all the time. And so we have a program we're going to implement to help us do that better. So there's been a lot of things under those 6 goals. I didn't highlight all of them, with more to come, because those really help us navigate what do we need to get accomplished in a year, knowing that it's going to take us longer than a year to get it all done. So
The League of Storytellers, where can people access those?
Yeah. So right now it's link on the Provost office website. Yeah, they built out that website, actually. Their photos are on there, their list is on there, their mission, their charge. They have their first story out there. So that we're building that, but right now it's a link on the Provost office.
Okay. You mentioned earlier how being at Geneseo, you feel that these are your people and you understand these students. How are you working to ensure students have more pathways and opportunities to succeed during their time at Geneseo?
There's a variety of ways. One of them I mentioned earlier was the Circle In, the app for the kind of gamification of studying, tutoring, things of that nature. Some of the other things is a little more personal. So I'm the faculty advisor for the Student Association Academic Affairs Committee. So every Tuesday, 8 p.m. in the Hunt Room, if you want to come by, I'm meeting with students for that. I'm really trying to understand what's going on with students, so that I can figure out how do we remove some of the obstacles. So what I mentioned earlier about registration. We know from a student survey that SUNY did a year ago that one of the things that students would like to see is an improvement in the registration process for courses. And so we as a team have been looking at how do we do this so students feel like registration is better. So what does that mean? One of the things that we're working on is what's called an advising hold. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but sometimes if a student doesn't meet with an advisor before the registration time and get their PIN number to be able to register, they can't register during their time frame, which for me would cause me a lot of anxiety, because I'm like, but I might not get the courses I need. I need these courses to graduate. It can cause some anxiety. So what can we do to take that away so students can register? They will still need to meet with their advisor, but can we do it so that people are less stressed and anxious about it and not get closed out of their course because they need it in a sequence or whatever the case might be? So we're looking at implementation of that actually this coming fall to be able to alleviate that pressure point. So I'm going to share a story in this space. So when I was an undergraduate, I had no idea I had to buy my textbooks. I went to public schools. We got our textbooks when we went to class. So as you can imagine, first day of class, calculus, because I was a math major, we were expected to have our book. I had calculus 4 days a week. We had homework every night. I did not have a book because I thought they were going to give us my book, right? So I had people that I had to immediately say, can I copy the homework down? Like, I didn't even have money to go make a Xerox, right? I was like, can I just copy I need to, so that I can do the homework to be able to turn it in the next day. I had no idea about this. And so eventually, after a couple weeks, my professor must have said something to somebody who said something to somebody. I got a call and said, can you come talk to us? And it was called the Bursar at the time. So here it would be called the Student Accounts Office. And I'm like, oh no. Am I going to get kicked out because I don't have money? I didn't know what was happening. Like, we have someone who wants to give you a scholarship for your textbooks. And I was like, okay. Tell me more. Tell me more. So it was the people at the college who saw the need that I had to help me be able to be more successful. So that's, to me, part of my job is to give back, to find what are the obstacles, how can we eliminate them so that there are opportunities for students to be able to navigate the space, to be successful. So it's a responsibility that I feel is just part of who I am.
So we've spoken about how you as a provost and both your personal experience and your position, you connect with students and you try to have a positive impact on their lives and their time at Geneseo. How do the students of Geneseo impact the immediate community of Geneseo, both academically and socially?
Geneseo students' impact in the community is pretty significant when we think about it from an economic standpoint as well as a social standpoint, and the ability to really deliver community service and leadership in the community. Students are amazing. They really are. So, in my short time here, in 1 year, I've been able to witness and hear stories about how students are engaging in the community and hearing stories of alum who've been part of the village board council and things of that nature. And really showing up I'll pick up gumbo, right, from a fundraiser for Livingston County Cares. Our students are involved with that. Our students are highly involved with Livingston County Cares. They just held their first ever award ceremony for volunteers in the county, and people came up to me as a representative for the college, said, "Can we get more students to be nominated for these awards?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." Because they're going to do it again next year. They know the impact of our students in this county, in this community, and Livingston Cares is a prime example that actually started on our campus by a person who's still involved with it. He's actually the president of it. It's now 25 plus years. We're taking students out into the world. So 20 years with Biloxi, let me say it right, my southern friends would say Biloxi, Mississippi, after a hurricane, and being able to 20 years going down there every year for 20 years to help the community. Students are doing this. Students are traveling with community members, faculty and staff members from the college as a group. So the lines are gone, and you can see that the students are doing the work here because there's been some Livingston Cares projects in the area, but they've also traveled out of state and out of nation to help in different ways. So that's just one example of the great work that our students are doing in all the communities in which they exist, even when they go back home. So when we think about that, there's no way to really capture all of the economic impact. And I think it's important to think about this from an economic standpoint, because you have an economic impact when you're serving your communities. And sometimes people don't remember that. And so what does that mean for us? That means our students are out there in the world, going back to our vision, having a positive impact on society. They're living the mission and vision of SUNY Geneseo. It's pretty impressive.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to share?
You've asked some really great questions. I think I'll kind of start. I'll kind of come to a close from the beginning of, me being the provost and vice president of academic affairs here at SUNY Geneseo is nothing I could have ever even envisioned for me. As I said at the beginning of this interview, I had no idea what a provost was. I know there was one because there was a title, but it's the person that takes care of a lot of the stuff internally and is not the face of the college. That's the president's job, right? So if things are running in a way that, good or bad, the provost usually has to figure out how to adjust it. I am beyond privileged to be in the position. As a first generation college student, to be in this position that I didn't even know existed when I was a student is pretty phenomenal to me, that I get to help others in any way I can to support their success. And I mean that for faculty, staff, and students, because all of us are successful together. None of us are alone. I'm very collective in that thought process, is how do we do this together? How do we collaborate in a way that helps improve the community for all of us? Because if there's an element that's hurting one of us, it's impacting the whole system. That's just how systems work. And so being able to do that, I'm just blown away literally almost every day that I get to be in this job, that I have this opportunity at this place. SUNY Geneseo is phenomenal. It's known as a phenomenon across New York State, and we're getting it out there in the world beyond New York State. So people recognize the greatness of this place. So to kind of wrap up a little bit about what you asked about, the confirmation of our brand as New York State's public liberal arts honors college is the right move. It's where we are. It's what we are. We are living it through the examples of what we just talked about with our students, having that positive impact on society. That's part of what we want. And so be able to see that, how lucky am I? Honestly, how lucky am I? I'm pretty impressed by this place. So I feel very lucky.
Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Geneseo Today. I'm your host, Carolyn, and today I was joined by SUNY Geneseo Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Mary Toll. Tune in next time on WGSU 89.3, Geneseo's Voice of the Valley, for more things Geneseo.
Thanks for listening to Geneseo Today, news and insight on issues in and around Geneseo. To learn more about this show or to suggest guests or topics, contact WGSU at geneseo.edu.